Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger. The date is July 30, 2020. And yes, it looked like a bit of a mess in front of the screen. But you can clearly see, well, at least I hope, you can clearly see this very familiar character to those people who watched The Lord of the Rings. Yes, this is Frodo, the main protagonist of the Lord of the Rings series. But we are here today to look at something much, much bigger, much more, and much uglier than Frodo. But it does have something to do with Frodo here. This Frodo was created by ToyBiz in the early 2000s. I think this was around 2003. For all intents and purposes, not a bad figure at all. He's very small, as he's supposed to be. He's a hobbit, after all, and hobbits are called halflings because they are, well, kind of the size of dwarfs, except they're not even as powerful and muscular as the dwarfs in the Lord of the Ring. Hobbits are little people that are very small, very peace-loving. So for poor Frodo to get dragged into the whole war of the Middle Earth in the Lord of the Ring was quite a shock to his system, I imagine. Now, I don't know if those of you who follow the Lord of the Ring follow Harry Potter as well. But there's something in common between Harry Potter and Frodo. They are in different times. They're in two completely different genres. One is a magic throwing accomplished magician, and one is a small peace-loving halfling creature. So what do these two characters have in common with each other, other than both are the main characters, the main protagonists in their respective universe? The answer is that they are both a lot more brave than I am. You see, I consider myself to be pretty brave. But ask me what are the top 5 things that freaks me out. And spiders will always rank in there among the top 5. Only about a month ago, I was cleaning out my training room, the closet in my training room, and I found my old piano keyboard. So I decided, well, heck, this old thing is not working anymore. There's no point keeping it in the closet. It's taking up a lot of room. Might as well take it outside and get rid of it. So I reached in to pull out this old piano keyboard that has been sitting in the back of my closet for the past 8 years. And just as I picked it up, something with a lot of legs and very lively landed on my forearm. There was an instantaneous feeling of going into shock, instantaneous feeling of panic, and I did what I tend to do when I get really, really scared. You see, some people freeze when they get scared. Some people run away when they get scared. I tend to get really violent when I get scared. So there was that maybe 1 second of shock and panic, and then next second it was me smacking my hand down as hard as I could on my forearm, and then with that same hand brush whatever it was onto the floor. And I stood there with my heart beating really, really fast in my chest, freaking out. I felt like all the hairs on my back were standing up. I felt like I was breaking out into a cold sweat. And then finally, when I decided I calmed down enough, I went to get a paper towel to pick up whatever it was that I just killed. It was a spider, and it was a spider about the size of my thumb.
The time is now 10 p.m.
Thank you. It was rather disgusting and very freaky. So I'm not too much of a man to deny that I am quite scared of spiders. Although, of course, comparing to things like centipedes, I'd rather deal with spiders any day. But going back to the topic of the day, both Frodo and Harry Potter have faced down some gigantic, monstrous spiders without losing their mind. Honestly, that alone makes me want to say that they are a lot braver than I am. So yes, you guessed it. Today we are here to look at spiders. So I hope none of you are too squeamish. Our first creepy crawly contender is this little creepy horror from McFarlane's creation. That is one big spider. This spider was made in the early 2000s by what's considered for a long time to be the king of action figures, Todd McFarlane. This spider came in the series called Twisted Fairy Tales with the action figure of Little Miss Muffet. What does the spider have to do with Little Miss Muffet? Well, because Little Miss Muffet came from a children's nursery rhyme, which went something like, Little Miss Muffet sat in her stool, eating her way, or actually, let me start that over. It goes like, Little Miss Muffet sitting on her tuffet, eating a bowl of whey. Along came a spider, who sat down beside her and scared Little Miss Muffet away. Yeah, so this is the spider in question. Just look at how creepy this is. It's a long, spiky leg. It's mostly a dark, earthy color. I mean, in my hand, it doesn't look all that big. I mean, it's big, but in my hand, it just looks like the size of a regular tarantula. But you gotta remember, this was made to stand in with a 6-inch scale figure. So even against someone like poor little Frodo here, this would be a monster of a spider. From end to end, one end of the leg to the other, it's a lot wider than Frodo is tall. Give you a back view of the spider. Scary. Now some of you will say, well, you're comparing it against Frodo. Obviously it's big, because Frodo is a tiny person. Well, even if I compare him, the spider, against a normal sized human character like Brienne here from Game of Thrones, who is over 6 inches tall, got a sword in her hand. Now if we hold the spider against her, that is still one big spider. So essentially we are looking at a spider about the same size as a human character. Rather scary when you think about it. Look at that. Oh, that spiny, skinny, super long legs, and spikes coming out of the body, the leg, and how it can just hang there, waiting to drop onto an unsuspecting victim. I don't know if you guys can make out the face of the spider. There's a lot of fangs in there. Now let me get him closer to the camera. Give you a frontal view. Scary. Very scary indeed. But by no means our top contenders in today's creep show. One of the most memorable moments in Lord of the Rings was when poor little Frodo and his companion Sam went into the cave, or the lair of the gigantic ancient evil spider Shelob. How does Shelob measure up against our crazy monster spider from McFarlane? Well, I'll let you be the judge. Setting Frodo down here so you guys can get a view. Here is Shelob, the ancient evil spider. This spider dwarfs McFarlane's creation in every sense of the way. Just look at the size of this. It towers over poor Frodo. Look at that. Frodo's head. It's barely filling her mandible. This is one big spider. This spider is about a foot wide, and if you can actually get her to stand on her legs, which is actually quite difficult, she would be about 9 inches tall and a foot wide. She came out, I believe, in 2003, 2004, sometime around that. And she wasn't even a deluxe action figure. You could get this big monster for less than 15 bucks. Give you guys a view of her back. Very creepy, very creepy. Just look at that spider head. Her mandibles move. Her legs are all jointed with multiple joints. This is a very articulated spider. And again, let's bring Brienne back into the picture so you guys can see how Shelob would measure up against a normal human-sized character. As you can see, she is massive even against a normal human-sized character. We are talking about a spider about the size of a horse or even bigger. This is what kind of scale we are looking at. Let's say I put Shelob upright and standing her against Brienne. Just her body alone is a lot bigger than a standard human character. Crazy, scary, and very creepy indeed. Now, for a lot of us, when Frodo or Harry Potter, when either of these characters ran into their respective spider enemy, that got to be the pinnacle of horror. They're thinking, okay, there's no way they're going to make it out of this one. But what if what Frodo ran into was not Shelob, but a different spider creature? Can there be anything scarier than Shelob? As it turns out, yes, it's possible. Welcome to the ultimate spider creature. This is possibly one of the most awe-inspiring action figures I've laid my hand on in the past 10 years. And this came as a contribution from my beautiful girlfriend to my collection. This is the spider Gremlin from the second Gremlin movie. Now, I'm not a Gremlin fan. Let me get that out of the way. I'm not a Gremlin fan. But I had to get this creature because even without the connection to Gremlin, it's a gigantic spider with a demonic upper body. How cool is that? Just look at the size of this thing. Bring him close to Frodo, and you can see this thing puts that Shelob to shame. Frodo can actually walk directly underneath his body, and the top of Frodo's head wouldn't even reach the spider's belly. This thing stands 10 inches tall and is 18 inches wide. This is one big character. Keep in mind, he is also about $80. So comparing to Shelob and McFarlane's Little Miss Muffet spider, it's definitely a lot more expensive. But this is a deluxe action figure. Getting poor Frodo out of the view. I think he's been scared enough. Give you guys a side view of this creature. That's the spider gremlin from the side. The spider gremlin is basically what happened when the gremlin drinks a formula that contained the spider DNA. They turn into this giant creature with the upper half of a gremlin and the lower half of a spider. It is covered in a lot of sharp details, spikes and scales and leathery flesh. And these legs are actually really sharp. I'm talking about if I take a piece of paper, I can cut a piece of paper with these spider legs. That's how sharp they are. You got the back view. And this is not just a big figure, this is super articulated as well. Every single leg, with the exception of the front two legs, has 3 joints. The front 2 legs have 2 joints. The torso, the body, the abdomen of the spider, they're articulated. The upper torso, where the gremlin is articulated at the neck, shoulder, elbow, wrist, and where it fades into the spider's body. Because this action figure is so heavy and so big, it comes with a little display base that will help stabilize this monster. Like I said, of the action figure that I've came across in the past 10 years, this got to be the most impressive looking of them all. And I have my girlfriend to thank for being able to acquire this one. That's left on my own, I probably wouldn't have shelled out the kind of money that this one required. There's almost no point comparing this one to a human-sized character. You guys can already see how big it is. So I'm going to bring the runner-up, Shelob, back into the picture. Giant spider compared against giant spider. And immediately, it's clear who's the winner here. Here's Shelob, who's giving me a bit of trouble standing. There we go. Yeah, definitely a lot bigger than the already gigantic Shelob. And if we want to bring the McFarlane spider back into comparison, that is a sad looking tiny spider comparing to this monster of a gremlin, spider gremlin. It's not even as big as its upper body. So I don't know if you guys are sufficiently creeped out yet, but I'm going to give you a view of the underside of the Gremlin spider. Look at all those wickedly sharp spikes coming out of the underbelly of the spider. All the details. And then the underside from behind. Very, very creepy. It's detailed, it's highly detailed, highly articulated. Comes with a display stand. I would say, without a doubt, this is the champion of all spiders. Now that we're all spidered out, I will bid you guys farewell, and we'll be back again tomorrow for Fitness Friday. For now, have fun. Hopefully you guys are not going to get spider dreams. I will see you guys later.